What about the idea, and Mike, you talked about this a little bit, the idea of making it really practical, and Joel, you touched on this. And there is that disenchantment about big data. It's not happening for us. It's more a buzz than reality. How do we turn that into actionable insights? How do businesses really get actionable insights from big data? If you were going to give one piece of advice to them, what would you say? Or Arjit, how do we turn this into real insight?
To extend from what Joel was saying, actually, it fits right into what you were saying. You have to bring the insights to the people who understand the data best, right? So think about how people are trying to solve this problem today. I have business users who have years of domain knowledge about the space and what they're doing, and now I bring in this data scientist who understands statistics, perhaps, but doesn't understand the business. Real example, we were looking at product defects for one of the largest manufacturers in the world. It's a Fortune 100. And we look at this product which has a high defect rate, and the software says the defect rate is high because of 3 customers and 3 countries. Now, the product owner was in the room. She says those 3 customers are mining customers. Those 3 countries have a high air quality problem. My product has a big fan in it. Could it have been an air quality problem all along? Now, see just what happened there. You needed that human expert to know that those 3 customers were mining customers. Maybe a data scientist would have known that. But the data scientist definitely wouldn't have known that that product has a big fan in it and that it could have been caused by air quality problems. Today, what we are trying to do is give the power to the people who have this mechanics of statistics and computer science. And what we are seeing happen, and you'll see this conversation about citizen data scientists becoming more and more important, is how do you take those tools and techniques and empower the business users to be able to use it themselves so that now they get the best of both worlds, those years of domain knowledge and all the statistical and computational power that they need.
Richard, your sense on making this all actionable, how does it go from just this sort of a fairy tale to something that really produces profit?
Well, it's all about the people. That was a really good comment. What we're doing is we're leveraging social networking technology to connect the people that count to the data. So an example would be when we're processing information, and it's not always using an analytics to create computationally derived data. Sometimes it's just looking for the data that already exists and connecting that to the right person. So we'll look for particular pieces of information, and then we'll categorize that data and say, who needs to see this, and then use that technology to link it to the appropriate person. And that's basically the soundbite there, is connecting the data to the people.
And on that note, it never fails to amaze me. I think this less now than I used to think this, but it seems like one of the ironies of big data is that it still comes down to this human element. I think, as it was originally presented, it's going to be the source of information that machines and software could give us, but in reality, there's still a lot of human hunches going on there, less so perhaps now than in the past. But at any rate, Mike, your sense of making this all actionable, or whether or not humans are still needed in big data?
James, allow me to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Add your thought, if you would.
James, the thing you were just saying was very crucial. What big data is doing the computation so that the insights can be brought to the human, so they can look at a small set of actionable insights, right? Think back to Yahoo versus Google. Yahoo was categorizing the web by using human beings to go figure that out, and Google came in, and actually Alta Vista, all these guys came in and said, I'm going to use algorithms to bring it down to a list of 10 links, and now the human will choose from those 10 links. You're still putting human intuition in there, but when they're selecting from the 10 links. But you're letting computers bring it down from billions of possibilities down to the first 10, then the next 10, the next 10 links. That's what big data is going to do. It's going to let you look at billions of things and bring it down to a list of human tractable patterns which are statistically sound, and now the human picks from them. So you empower the human. You don't say the human is irrelevant.
I could not
go ahead.
Yeah, we see this all the time. The data, the role of the technology is to prioritize and synthesize massive amounts of information into something that is digestible for humans, for people, and then people's expertise will choose what to do from within that, and also by giving feedback can help the machine learn how to give better suggestions to the expert. And I think that it's very silly to think, like, machines are great at math and identifying patterns and what have you. They're not particularly intuitive. They don't have a sense of design and of emotion. And that's very big in the human experience.
Joel, when the machines finally take over 10 years from now, that comment will be remembered, and they may be upset at you. So
they wouldn't be the first.
Mike, how do we make this all actionable? How do we make it really real?
Well, so I think we've touched on a couple of the pieces here. You definitely want to try to not make the process dependent upon a key data scientist. You don't want to make the process batch oriented. You don't want to make it that. What you want to do is try to bring actionable intelligence to the people who are actually making operational decisions. So you're going to make the process faster. You got to do more things in memory. You've got to have more applications predefined. We touched a little bit on machine learning. Machine learning is evolving. I mean, I remember studying artificial intelligence 30 years ago, and it just doesn't go anywhere for a couple of the reasons we talked about here, but also because the expectations were that it would think like a human. And machines don't think like humans. Machines think like machines. And they have their strengths and weaknesses. And yes, if you're trying to help a human make an operational decision, there's got to be a human in the loop there. Otherwise, it already would have been automated. And so I think that the challenge is, today we see an awful lot of startups saying, I can use big data on the back end as part of my construction of my service, and I'm going to bring that key piece of advisory intelligence to the audience who's actually doing something. So I think we're going to see a lot more of those solutions coming to market where the end user may not even be aware there's big data there. And in fact, one of the predictions we made is that big data will really be successful when no one talks about it anymore. When it's not, you don't think about it as I have to look at big data. It's just more data that somebody's processing for you, and it kind of normalizes to the background. So we see a lot of trends going in that direction. I think those are all good things that are going on. One of just to mention a few of the obstacles that we see, touching on there, data governance is still an issue when we talk about large data sets. Privacy issues are still an issue when we talk about large data. Being able to use big data to actually put personally identifying information back into data sets that may have already been cleaned up of that information. You can actually just rediscover personally identifying information, which is kind of one of the things that it hasn't been fully addressed yet. And so I think there's some issues that yet to have to be overcome. The bigger the data gets, but we're getting there. There's definitely a lot of evolution in the space.